What's going on, guys? Jerry Neutron here, back with a brand new video. And today I'm excited because I get to show you guys something that I just got in for review from ASUS. This is the Strix GTX 1070. Not bad. Let's take a look at it. So for those of you not familiar with this card, it's based on the new NVIDIA Pascal architecture. It's got 1920 CUDA cores, 8 GB of GDDR5 memory on a 256-bit bus. It's factory overclocked to 1632 MHz on the core, with a boost clock of 1835 MHz, and that's in gaming mode, which is the mode this card runs in by default. Fun fact, my card was actually shipped in gaming mode and not OC mode. Not sure if that means that's no longer a thing for reviewers, or if I'm just not important enough and they didn't bother. And lastly, we've got an 8000 MHz effective memory clock. So taking a look at this thing, the first thing you'll notice is the giant triple fan cooler on top. It's a part of what ASUS calls their direct CU3 cooling technology, and it features 3 90mm fans, dual heat sinks, and direct GPU contact heat pipes. And all of that is supposed to equate to an efficient and quiet cooling solution, which we'll talk about in a moment. But let's take a look at the rest of the card first. On the opposite side, they've included a backplate, which gives the card a pretty clean look. It's got an ROG logo on it, which is RGB backlit, and there's actually RGB lighting in several areas of the card. There's small strips around the fans on the face of the card, as well as on the Republic of Gamers font on the side of the shroud. Now, RGB lighting isn't necessarily a selling point for me, but ASUS has actually done it properly by giving us a color neutral card. It's totally pointless to have RGB lighting if your card is red or yellow or orange, so I gotta give props to them for doing it right here. As for connections, this card is a single 8-pin connector providing power to the card, which is crazy to think about considering how fast it is. It wasn't that long ago that we were seeing dual 8-pin connectors, sometimes more on top-end cards, so I'm definitely liking where we're headed from an efficiency standpoint. You've also got 2 4-pin fan headers on board, which will allow you to connect your case fans to the card, and they'll ramp up or down based on the load of the GPU. And basically what that'll do is just give you some supplemental cooling. So I could see something like this being used maybe in SLI setups where you could use additional airflow during gaming or benchmark sessions, so I think it's a nice touch. Moving on to the I/O side, we've got 2 DisplayPort 1.4 connectors, DVI-D, and 2 HDMI 2.0 ports. The extra HDMI port is for VR, so if you want to connect your headset and a display to the card at the same time, you can, which is a likely scenario if you are gaming in the living room. So one's gonna go to your TV and the other will go to your headset. All right, so fast forward a little bit. I've got the card installed and I've been using it for a couple weeks now. Here are some things I've noticed while gaming. I'm seeing a max temp of about 68 degrees Celsius, which is a nice improvement over the Founders Edition. I'm also seeing a max boost clock of 1974 megahertz, which finally levels out to around 1936 megahertz after 20 to 30 minutes. The good thing about this card is the fans don't spin until the temp reaches 55 degrees Celsius, so when you're just browsing the internet, watching YouTube and stuff like that, the system is nice and quiet. In fact, I'll give you guys a little sample of what it sounds like at idle and then under load. What you're hearing at idle here is my CPU cooler and case fans, so just keep that in mind. And then under load with the GPU joining in. So as you guys can hear, the card isn't very loud at all, at least not with the default fan profile, so I can't really complain from an acoustic standpoint. Now, if you want to do any tweaking to the fan profile or even overclocking, ASUS provides their own software which is called the GPU Tweak. In the software, you can switch between performance profiles like OC mode, gaming mode, and silent mode. You can monitor your GPU vitals, disable the 0 dB fan mode to make your fan spin all the time. And if you enable professional mode, you can even overclock your card. So here you can set your GPU boost clock, which it looks like you're limited to a +91 offset in manual mode. But if you click on the user defined option, it looks like you can set your own power curve past that. There's also, of course, GPU voltage and memory clock adjustments, fan speed, where you can define your own fan curve, as well as other typical options that you would see if you've ever used software like Afterburner or Precision X. Now, remember when I said this card had RGB lighting? Well, this is where you would customize the lighting options. Under the lighting effects, you can choose between static and breathing and color changing modes. You can select whatever color you want to display from the color wheel on the right. There's even a music mode where the lights will react to the beat, and a GPU temperature mode where the color of the lights will change depending on how hot the GPU gets. Or if you hate RGB lighting altogether and you think it's stupid, well, you can simply turn it off here as well. All right, so with all of that said, let's finally get into the benchmarks. So as you guys can see, this is a pretty solid performing card. Perfect for 2560 by 1440, 60 Hz gaming. If you want to game at resolutions higher than that, I'd recommend stepping up to a GTX 1080 or better, but ultimately that choice will be up to you. Overclocking was just decent with this card as I wasn't able to push the core very far. I hit a max overclock of 2038 MHz, which eventually leveled out to just over 2000. For the memory, I had a little bit more room to play with though. That I pushed all the way to 8808 MHz. It seemed like I could push the card further, but I kept hitting the power limit, and I think that was ultimately holding me back. That and the voltage being locked to 1.093 volts. That aside, there's not really much to complain about in regards to this card. This is one of the more expensive 1070s, however, right up there in price with the Amp Extreme card from Zotac, the Gaming X from MSI, and the For the Win edition from EVGA. So if you're trying to fit a 1070 into your budget, you may want to consider one of the non-overclocked cards as they are closer to the $400 mark. If you don't mind spending 450 bucks on a 1070, however, this card definitely needs to be on your list of considerations. So that's about it, guys. Make sure you show this video some love if you enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Also, I started a second channel. A link is in the description below. Make sure you guys subscribe to that as well, as I'll be posting in-game benchmarks of any cards that I get over on that channel, and maybe some other stuff. But anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Till next time, see ya.